Fact Trekkers
are back.
We're the father-son podcast team.
I'm Ben the son.
I'm Dad, the dad. Also, Steve.
And we're coming at you with episode 7 of our fun-filled, fact-packed show.
As always, this episode of Fact Trackers will feature the fast fact action fact-off to start the show.
Followed by the 3-part main event, where we go deeper and wider on a few fascinating topics, leaving you with a better understanding.
And some fun stuff to tell your friends and family.
And then, of course, for 2 facts and a fake, where we share 2 more totally true and totally cool facts.
And 1 piece of total fiction we made up to fool you.
Well, to try to fool you, as our listeners are pretty smart folks.
True that is. Who would have believed that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland? That one was true.
Yup, and you can hear that little bit of knowledge back in episode 6. And also, in this episode, we're adding a brand new segment, where we share a fact submitted by one of our listeners.
It'll be fun to see what people send in. But hey now, should we get cranking with episode 7?
Let's do it. Let's move to...
The Fact Off.
Here we go with our rapid-fire fact off, where everything is true, but the facts aren't related to one another. They're just true. Like my first one for today, the Greenland shark can live up to 500 years. It's the longest living vertebrate on the planet today.
A single 8-ounce cup holds approximately 15 million grains of sand, and at any given time, there are roughly 5 sextillion grains of sand comprising all of the planet's beaches.
That's a lot of sand. For perspective, when you look up at the sky on a clear night in a dark area, you'll actually only see about 2,000 stars with the naked eye.
While you might think the so-called 100 Years' War, which actually lasted 116 years, was the longest in history, there have actually been conflicts that raged on and off for much longer, including 3 different wars that lasted more than 700 years.
700 years? That's bananas! Speaking of which, mosquitoes are extra attracted to people who have recently eaten bananas.
From an itch to a burn, Venus, our nearest planetary neighbor, is the hottest planet in the solar system, with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead.
Humans can smell petrichor, which is the smell of dirt after it rains, better than sharks can smell blood.
Diamonds come in a variety of colors, beyond that clear or white you might think of first, like blue, green, orange, and even red, that being the rarest color.
Most people can't lick their own elbow, which I'm guessing lots of people are now trying to do.
The lowest point in all the United States is in Death Valley, California. Badwater Basin is 282 feet below sea level. And just about 120 miles due west is Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the continental United States, at 14,498 feet.
Which you have climbed.
4 times and counting. We need to get you up on that fine piece of mountain sometime.
Definitely. But for now, I think that this section has peaked.
I see what you did there. Shall we descend into the main event?
Okay, let's do it.
Then it's time for the main event.
Here in the main event, we dive deep into 3 topics, sharing enough information to give you a better sense of the subject rather than just a few random facts. And, speaking of diving, our first topic is one you can jump right into: rivers.
The longest river on Earth is the Nile in northern Africa, with a total length of 4,132 miles, while the largest river in terms of water volume is the Amazon, which carries an average discharge of 215,000 to 230,000 cubic meters of water per second. At any given second, that's about 20% of the world's total riverine discharge into oceans.
The longest river in Europe is the Volga, the longest river in Asia is the Yangtze, and though you might think the Mississippi is America's longest river, at around 2,340 miles, it's actually the Missouri River, which is around 100 miles longer.
I always thought the Mississippi was the longest.
Well, fact-checked and fact-trekked, it's the Missouri. Funny enough, the Missouri feeds into the Mississippi, so in many ways, it's actually a continual waterway.
While people can't get an exact count, there are roughly 3 million waterways classified as rivers on planet Earth.
Technically speaking, rivers and streams flow into bays, sounds, or right into the ocean. A creek usually flows into a river or stream, so they actually aren't the same thing.
There are several species of freshwater river dolphins alive on Earth right now, such as the Amazon river dolphin, found in South America, the Ganges river dolphins, found in many Asian waterways, and the Indus River dolphin, found only in the Indus River system of Pakistan.
Another amazing river animal is the Chinese giant salamander, which is the largest amphibian in the world, able to grow almost 6 feet in length. They are considered living fossils as they have hardly evolved in eons. You could have basically found the same salamander sharing the planet with dinosaurs and for tens of million years of overlap.
Many ancient civilizations depended on rivers as water sources and for navigation. Civilizations such as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia grew up around rivers, as did some of the world's great cities. From Rome to Shanghai to London, they all sprouted in proximity to a river.
The Caño Cristales River in Colombia is often called the liquid rainbow, as its aquatic plants and algae make it appear red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and more.
The deepest river on Earth is the Congo, formerly called the Zaire. In some parts, this river is more than 700 feet deep.
That is way deep. Speaking of which, have we gone in depth enough yet on this watery subject?
I hope so, because things are about to dry out a lot.
That's true, because we're flowing from rivers to a decidedly drier topic, deserts.
Let's start with the basics. A desert is defined by its aridity. It's a distinct area of the planet that receives very little precipitation. Typically, to be classified as a desert, an area gets less than 10 inches of rain per year.
Most people think of northern Africa's Sahara Desert as the biggest desert on Earth, but it's in fact the Antarctic Polar Desert, which spreads out over 5.5 million square miles down on the bottom of the planet. That's the real land down under. While the continent of Antarctica's massive ice sheets hold about 90% of Earth's fresh water, the area sees only around 6 to 7 inches of precipitation each year.
And up on the other pole, we find the world's second largest desert, the Arctic Polar Desert, which covers around 5.4 million square miles, spread out across stretches of Canada, the United States, Scandinavia, and Russia.
Okay, now it's time for the Sahara, which spreads out across some 3.6 million square miles of Africa. And unlike those polar deserts, this one gets hot. As in, the temperature regularly hits 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months.
The hottest known temperature ever recorded was 134 degrees, a record set back in 1913 in the aptly named Furnace Creek area of Death Valley, California.
Wow, 2 Death Valley shoutouts in one show.
Uncanny. The driest place on Earth is Chile's Atacama Desert, which gets less than 1/10 of an inch of precipitation per year.
And some parts of the Atacama Desert haven't seen measurable precipitation in more than 400 years.
The Atacama is so dry because the Andes Mountain block clouds that would otherwise come from the Pacific Ocean, and also because it's at rather high altitude, being almost 8,000 feet above sea level.
America's largest desert is the Great Basin Desert, which covers around 200,000 square miles and spreads out over parts of California, Idaho, Utah, and Oregon, though most of the Great Basin is in Nevada.
While you might picture deserts to be largely colorless swaths of sand and stone, punctuated by the occasional cactus and steer skull, and largely devoid of life, after rains do come to deserts, they can be remarkably colorful.
That's right. Many flowering plant seeds will remain dormant for years on end, only to sprout, grow, and blossom into vibrant life, turning deserts into amazing swaths of color.
Ironically, our next topic might sound colorful, but mostly, it's not.
That's right, because we're hopping from deserts to Greenland.
Greenland, which is an autonomous and largely self-governing territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, is about 80% covered by the Greenland ice sheet, which is, of course, white, not green.
Greenland is considered the world's largest island, being too small to be considered its own continent, but big enough to achieve that title. Australia, on the other hand, is its own continent.
So why is an icy island way up there in the Arctic Circle, most of which is white, called Greenland?
Well, it's called that because of a trick played by Eric the Red, a Viking explorer who was exiled from Iceland in the late 10th century. He named the island Greenland in the hope that the name would attract settlers and create a positive impression of the land where he himself was living.
Classic con man, that Eric the Red. Today, Greenland is indeed settled, with about 55,600 people living there, nearly 20,000 of whom live in Greenland's capital city, Nuuk.
While a lot of Greenland itself is white due to glaciation, there's plenty of color to be seen in the towns and cities dotting the island.
That's right. Greenland's vibrant houses are so colorful thanks to a historical color coding system, originally implemented in the 1700s to make it easier to identify buildings, particularly in the absence of street names and house numbers. The system used specific colors for different functions, such as red for churches, yellow for hospitals, and blue for fish factories.
I guess there were a lot of fish factories to merit that system.
Lots of fish factories.
While the color coding is less strictly enforced today, the tradition of using bright colors persists as a visual landmark and charming element of Greenland's culture and tradition.
Greenland celebrates its National Day on June 21st, the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And in much of northern Greenland, the sun never sets from late spring to late summer.
That's why much of the Arctic is called the land of the midnight sun.
In July, the hottest month in Greenland, if we can call it that, the average high temperature in the capital Nuuk is 52 degrees Fahrenheit. In February, the coldest month, the average high is 23, while the low is 12.
That's not warm.
Neither is the cold, hard fact that it's time for us to leave Greenland behind.
Which must mean it's time for our new segment.
Yep, it's time for Fan Facts. This is a segment where we both share facts fans submit and also answer listener questions.
Today, our listener-submitted question comes from Niam. Thanks for sharing this one, Niam.
Niam asks, why do some species of birds, like geese, fly in a V-shaped pattern?
Birds fly in a V-shape to reduce wind resistance and save energy during long flights. The lead bird creates an updraft, and the following birds benefit from this lift, reducing their overall energy expenditure. Additionally, the V-shape can aid in communication and coordination with other birds.
Great question, and great answer. And now I think it's time to move on to our final segment.
Yup, it's time for...
2 facts and a fake.
Okay, so here we go with the segment where we share 3 facts that seem rather outlandish, but only 2 of them are true.
Right, one is just something funny we made up. Let's get to it, and Ben, should we have your sister kick things off?
Sounds good. Scarlett, want to do our first fact?
Sure, I can start.
Number 1.
Mount Everest gets 1 inch shorter every year due to its erosion.
Number 2.
There are more hydrogen atoms in one molecule of water than there are stars in the entire solar system.
Number 3.
And finally, 70% of all Canadians live south of Seattle, Washington.
Okay, there you have it. 2 facts, 1 fake. But which is which? We'll tell you soon.
Well, I guess that's it. Episode 7 is in the books, or on the web, should I say.
This was a fun one. I'm glad we added that new listener fan fact section.
And if you want to keep hearing it, please send in more submissions through our website, facttrekkers.com. Personally, I loved how the main event went from rivers to deserts to an icy island. What was yours, Dad?
Well, I already knew this one, but the fact that Greenland was named Greenland as a tricky marketing ploy is just hilarious to me. So, I'll go with that one. How about you?
I think it's wild how deep the Congo River gets. I had no idea rivers could even get that deep.
You know what is deep, though? This show. Except when we fake people out.
Guess we better do the big reveal, then.
Yep, let's spill the beans on 2 facts and a fake. Okay, first up. There are more hydrogen atoms in one molecule of water than there are stars in the entire solar system. Yeah, that is a fact. It's totally true, but it was also kind of a joke because, well, there's only one star in the solar system, the sun.
70% of all Canadians live south of Seattle, Washington.
Mount Everest gets 1 inch shorter every year due to its erosion.
In fact, Mount Everest, which was prominently featured in the first ever episode of Fact Trekkers, is actually still growing taller, albeit only by a few millimeters each year.
And that's a fact.
As is the fact that, sadly, it's time for us to sign off.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all in episode 8.